appreciate everybody taking time out of their day to attend to learn more about creating a scenario-based activity using Pathfinder. A couple housekeeping notes. If you'd like to ask any questions, feel free to use the questions tab on the dashboard for GoToWebinar, or use the hand-raising tab as well, and we'll definitely call on you. We'll offer you some polls during the session today. Feel free to answer those polls so we can get better feedback on what you are looking for out of MLevel. And we're going to go ahead and get started with Jeff Stefkin. Jeff, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you and give you presenter rights.
Great, thanks, Josh. First of all, welcome. Thanks for attending. Hopefully we find these, I'm going to show my screen. There we go. Hopefully you find these webinars about our features helpful. We're going to do these every month. This month we're doing Pathfinder, as Josh mentioned, and today's agenda, we're actually going to do a quick overview. Some of you have seen a lot of the Pathfinder stuff before. We'll try to be brief about the overview. Then we will begin to dive into the creation tool. Andrew Boudreau, our senior developer, is going to give us a demo, a live demo of the stuff that he's currently working on that will be available for the next release. So you can start beginning to actually use and create your own Pathfinder activities. Kelly Martin will then give you some tips and best practices for creating these activities. I'll dive into reporting very briefly, and then we'll wrap it up with any questions and answers. And along the way, we'll actually we'll have a few polls that we'll bring up just to kind of gather some information about what you're thinking and how we can best serve you in the future for the Pathfinder activity. So make sure everybody can see my screen. You guys can see this, right? If I go in full screen mode, how's that? See me?
Yep.
All right, I'm going to stop this guy, and we'll go full screen on this guy. All right. So to begin with, a lot of you have seen this before, but I'll just be brief. Pathfinder is really a robust framework that allows us to use this for various use cases. We've identified 3 that are pretty strong. Those being HR training, so things like policy, compliance, procedures, things of that nature. Sales or retail training, or anything around learning in a role play. And then the last one is customer service training, so call center type things or support. So those are the 3 use cases that we've identified. Obviously, there's probably many more, but those are the 3 solid ones that you might be interested in using this for. Some of the benefits of scenario-based learning. So players are going to learn by making decisions, and they're going to see the potential consequences of their own choices. So it's better than just reading about it or hearing about the information. They're actually making their own choices and learning from their mistakes. Pathfinder also showcases the use of applied learning strategies. So you can use this in conjunction with all of our existing games and activities to create that great assessment tool. And then lastly, make on-the-job training immediately accessible for anyone, since we're available by mobile device or web browser. Just a few things I'd like to show before we go into actually bringing up the Pathfinder activity. It's engaging and interactive for users. It has a simple navigation. People are learning in smaller chunks, and they're playing at their own pace versus some of the other games that we have. We also have real-time feedback, so KPI-driven things based on users' own choices. Once you answer incorrectly, it'll show you what the correct answer is and why it should be based on what you input. It also can directly correlate how skills and knowledge will be applied in real-life situations. Again, they're making their own choices, so you can kind of see what they're thinking. And then lastly, scenario-based learning has been proven to help employees transfer learning directly into their jobs. One quick note about the creation, it's real-time publishing, so it allows you to easily prototype some things out, test it out with smaller test groups, and then you can always publish to those groups, and then when you're ready, you can add more users to the group and go live. So it's basically publishing just takes seconds, and it's immediately available to the players that are in that group via both web and mobile. So pretty easy to go back and tweak and change and test, which is great. Andrew will go into some easy creation stuff, so I'm going to kind of briefly walk you through this one. But the basic gist is you can add story and introduce characters through the use of these panels or slides that we're calling them now. You can have questions with weighted answer options, so you can have them be 100% correct, 50%, which is partially correct or incorrect, which you get 0 credit for. And you, as I mentioned before, you can create specific feedback for each answer, so you get that great feedback loop. And then finally, link answers to the next scenes or endings as defined in your script. So you can either go linear with this, so you can have all the answer options going towards the next scene, or you can branch out and have them go to different scenes, or you can do a combination of both within the activity as well. So before I dive into the creation tool, I wanted to just briefly show, for those that haven't actually seen the Pathfinder activity, we have a little demo here that I created. Hopefully it won't take too long to load up. Let's go ahead and start that. So this is an example of a title slide, as you can see. So right off the bat, we have default colors that are tied to your branding. So this one happens to pick it up for the background. So any title slide will use a background color, and your text will be white. What you do here is you click this next button, and you'll see a transition image. And then this would be an example of another title slide using a custom background color. So this one I've changed the background color, and Andrew will show you how to do that in his demo. And just to point out, this is all within a scene right now. So I just started scene 1, and you're seeing 2 slides. So the first slide, I can go back up. So you can move forward and backwards within each scene. This happens to be the first slide in the first scene. That's your transition image, and this is your second slide within that first scene. So we can continue to go. We see another transition image, and this happens to be an image slide. So we're just populating this with an image. You can put any image you'd like here. If your image has embedded text, that'll show up as well. Right now we don't have any embedded text in this image. It's just an image of the Millennium Falcon. Again, we see a transition image, and this happens to be a text slide. So this also uses the default branding. So you can see that blue color is actually showing up in the text, and the background is white and sort of transparent, so you can see through it. And we'll go to another slide example. So this is a text slide that shows a custom color. So I've changed this color to be pink. And again, you can see the image in the background here. And again, you can go up forward and backward within a scene until you reach your decision point. Let's go to the next slide. This next slide is a video slide. So here I've uploaded a video in the creation tool. You can actually set the preview image. So if we go ahead and play that, it should load our video, and I'm not going to play the whole video, but it'll give you an idea of basically showing a video within the app. So after watching your video, you can come back in here, you can click next. I've chosen a different transition image this time, and you see we have a foreground image here, so you can have a headshot or a logo or whatever you want to put in context of the story you're trying to tell. This happens to be the example of a decision point at the end of a scene. So each scene has either a decision point or an ending. You'll see that we have question statement. This is your sort of question statement where you can put questions, or you can ask things, or have a basic statement and then have some answer options below it. And again, you can easily go toggle back and forth. So you can, if you want context to that answer, when you're looking at the answers, if you want context to the questions, you can get back to that. Answer options can all link to the next scene, creating a linear path, or they can link to different scenes, creating a branching path. So in this case, I have them all linking to the same scene. But you can have 2 to 4 answer options, as I mentioned, and each answer option can be incorrect, partially correct, or correct. In this case, I'll show an example of the incorrect, and you can see this is also an example of the feedback that will show. You can put whatever text you'd like here. If you'd like to let the people know that, or let the users know that they answered wrongly, and this is the correct answer that they should have selected, and the reason why, you can put that in here. You can also set a background image so you can kind of see through. Let's go ahead, and this is an example of scene 2. So that first bunch of slides was one scene. So now I can't get back. Now that I've answered, I have to move forward. And this is just an example of a scene that uses no slides. So if you don't want to use any of the contextual story-based slides before you ask your question, here I've got 4 questions. You can have 2 to 4 answer options, like I said. So let's go ahead and show one that is correct. You see the feedback screen will pop up. You'll get an image, and then you can put whatever text you want in here for the correct. So to get more of a real-life story here, I've gone ahead and created just a couple slides here just to show you what it would be like. So in this case, we're just going to say, what should Luke do? And if anybody's a fan of Star Wars, you can see, we'll just kind of tell the story here and see if you can guess what he can do. After escaping the Death Star, Luke and the gang successfully deliver the plans to the rebel leaders. So we're sort of telling our story. We can show some pictures and imagery about the Death Star. We show Luke in here. And we can ask a question. So which vehicle should Luke choose to fly in his battle to destroy the Death Star? Let's go ahead, and Dave wants to answer. Well, what's the answer, Dave? I'm going to answer wrongly so you can kind of see. The correct answer, I know Dave knows, is the T-65 X-Wing fighter, but I'm going to say the Jedi Starfighter, so you can kind of see the feedback here. So you can say, sorry, the Jedi used these vehicles during the Clone Wars. Luke actually chose the T-65 X-Wing Starfighter for its combination of speed, agility, and firepower. So kind of gives you an idea of how you can set one of these up. This happens to be an example of an ending scene. So as I mentioned, you can either have a decision point in your scene, or you can have it just be an ending. So the ending is just kind of a way to wrap things up, and that's sort of my summary. I should have put my Jedi Knight here instead of our lovely polar bear friend, which I thought I did, but apparently I didn't. So that's a basic overview. Let me know if you have any questions. Do we have any questions queued up, or are we looking good so far?
No, you want to jump to a poll, though?
Sure. Let's go ahead and fire off one of our polls, or actually maybe 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah.
So right now, we're going to basically ask you, have you used any type of scenario or role play in your recent training? And whether it's MLevel or not, we're just kind of curious to see how many people have actually used scenario or role play in the recent training. I can't see because I'm a presenter.
Organizers and presenters don't vote.
Yeah.
Go ahead and close that.
All right. You want to run the next one too? We'll just get 2 of these up here.
There we go.
So there's the results. So it looks like 82% of you have, so that's great. Hopefully you'll start using this as well. We're going to run our second poll. So we just want to know, are you currently using any Pathfinder activities in your missions? So the selections are no, not yet. Yes, being someone at MLevel, probably Kelly or Chris Weaver, helped you build a Pathfinder activity. Or yes, you're adventurous and you've gone ahead and used the beta editing tool. So go ahead and answer those, and then we'll move it over to Andrew, who will show you a demo of the new creation tool, version 1, we'll say. Great.
Great.
So a lot of you have been adventurous and used the beta editing tool, so I think you'll find this next portion very helpful. So go ahead and hand it over to Andrew for the creation tool demo.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Hello, everyone. This is Andrew. Like Jeff said, I'm on the development team. So just give you a little heads up. Primarily, I've been focusing on developing the mission manager piece of the application. So today, we're going to kind of show off the new tools we've been working on for the Pathfinder stuff. Really excited about this. I think it's a really nice little tool. I see that the poll is half the people haven't used MLevel Pathfinder Editor, and it looks like the other half has used the beta tool. So hopefully I don't zip through this too quickly, but I just want to try and give a sense of how easy it's going to be to put together some of these Pathfinders. I did want to note that this is something that's going to be coming out in the next release, so it's not 100% final, but it's going to give you a really good idea of what we're looking to put out there. Most of the functionality is in place.
Just
cool.
to clarify, the next release being the February release.
Correct, February release.
Not the January
Yep.
release.
So we'll hop in here a little bit. I'm going to just kind of give a quick overview, and we're going to be using the same Pathfinder mission that Jeff went through just to maintain that context. So one of the things that Jeff talked about is the ability to break your Pathfinder up into scenes here. And hopefully you guys can see the little ping of my mouse there. But on the left-hand side here, we have the different scenes and how they're broken up. And inside of those scenes, we have the different panels. And these are the panels that Jeff was referring to. And if I just kind of click on the little selectors over here, I can load the editor for the different panel types. So,
Call the slides now.
sorry, the slides. Little internal speak there. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, we're referring to the as slides. So this is an example of a title slide, and I wanted to kind of point out that we're doing our we're trying to give the editor a good representation of what the actual end Pathfinder is going to look like. It's not pixel perfect, but I think you'll see here, and I'll try and pull up a little side by side. I think you'll see it's going to give you a really good sense of what the end users are going to see. And it's going to be really easy to kind of test these out too, as Jeff spoke to earlier. So I'm going to just hop out here. Excuse me. Click through here, and I'm going to create a new mission and just show you guys how easy it is. Let's see. Click create. Cruise through here. I'm going to go ahead and hop over to the activities, and in my list of activities here, I'll see the Pathfinder. Just select that and go ahead and add it to this mission I just created. I'm going to go ahead and hop into the editor for Pathfinder here just by clicking on the new icon. So one of the things that we wanted to improve over the old version is the flexibility for just adding and deleting slides and scenarios without having to worry too much about getting in a weird state. There were some issues with the earlier beta version, which a lot of those have been taken care of with this. It's going to be much easier to really manipulate a Pathfinder after you've gotten into creating it. So you can see I get one scene created here for me automatically. I'm just going to delete that out. And if we kind of follow some notes I have here, this is basically the content I took from the Pathfinder mission that Jeff made just to make it a little easier. And I'm just going to zip through a couple scenes here to show you guys how I would do this. So I know the first scene we had is a question scene. And if I click on this little panel here, I can simply add a few more slides into this scene. So I'm going to add two title slides here, two text slides, and an image slide. And if you recall in the Pathfinder demo that we saw, the image was between the two, between the title and the text slide. So I can just click on this guy, kind of drag it up into here and place that, and then these will be the order that the slides show in this first scene here. So if I click on title, we're just going to be able to go in and edit here. And one of the things that we tried to do is give a representation of how the transition image is going to show when you're kind of progressing through. So if I just click here, I can got some background images already set up. If I hover over the background image, I can see the foreground slide kind of fades away, so I can get a good idea of the image I'm using here. And then when I type in here, I can just start typing, and if I copy this correctly, slide. Okay, so I'm just going to bring this text in so you guys can see, get like a little bit of a real-time preview there. So this is what the editor looks like here. Just as kind of an example, let's see if I can show you guys what it looks like in the game here. Just going to start this over and load it up here.
Cue the music.
Okay, so this is the first slide that we saw in Jeff's demo, and here's kind of a split screen preview of what the editor looks like. So I think it gives you a pretty good sense. Hopefully you guys can see that. Sorry, not a ton of screen real estate here, and I won't stay on this for too long, but just to give you an idea of what you're getting yourself into, I think it's pretty clear here. So the second title slide here was the one that we put together that had a slightly different background color. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Just bring this text in here. And in the upper right-hand corner here, I can click on this flyout and pick which color I want or key it in there. I'm just going to click the orange, and we see it gets updated right away. I'm going to throw my same background in there. Let's give it a little hover, and yep, that's the one we want. So I can kind of switch between these two that I have created and move on to the image Choosing the same background image, just going to click on it and let it get selected. The Millennium Falcon image that we saw in there, just pick that one, and we've created this image panel. Just pick 2 images, and they'll transition nicely for us. Going to show a quick example of how to build a text panel. Opportunities here for a little more storytelling, like Jeff was saying. It gives you a little more real estate, and you can see through the text panel here. So we're going to pick this little nice Star Wars collage for the background of this guy. Go on to the next one, and this is an example of using a custom font color for this guy, and I'll just key this number in here. See if you can't see that here. Oops, that wasn't the right one. I think this is pink for Prince's. Yeah. So cool. We get the pink text there, and then go ahead and just pick the Leia background, and and we can see there. Okay, so that's kind of how we create what we refer to as the slides.
One thing I wanted to point out was everything is auto-saving now. So.
Yes, everything is auto-saving, so we don't have to worry about not missing saves or transitioning between scenes. Like, it's just going to go for you. And you can see that, like, I didn't click the save button or anything, and I can kind of hop between these guys and still edit their functionality. So I'll build up this question really quick, and then we'll kind of wrap up unless anyone has any questions about that. So I think the question editor is really nice. We can see it's at the bottom here, and as I add slides, they're going to go up to the top. But since this is the decision point of this scene, it's kind of the last thing that you're going to want to present to the player until they move on to the next one. So just like in the preview, we have the ability to add the small image, the background image, put our question text here. I'll bring this over so you can see good real estate here. I think we're using this guy for the background here, which is nice. So you can kind of see the little image is going to be able to be uploaded in this little section just by clicking on that. And then we can see our answers for this decision point down here. I can add in a new answer by just clicking on this guy, and it'll bring one into the mix, and I can add up to 4 of them in there. But it's going to start me with 2, so let's just modify those. Just go ahead and pick Darth Maul for the incorrect one here. Put a little fear into the heart. And I'm just going to bring the text over for these guys. Again, you get like a pretty nice little representation of how it's going to fit and flow into the Pathfinder mission. With these 2 boxes down here, I can change my correctness and get a little change in the overlay to see how those are going to work. This one we're going to keep as incorrect. And we're just going to use this option, just go to the next scene upon selecting this. And the way those are going to work out of the box here is it'll just go to whichever is the next scene in the list as represented in the navigation over here. I'm going to go ahead and add in the text for this last answer here. We'll take Yoda for correct and then say, this is the correct answer. You've done well. Okay, so we just put some text in there. And,
I think you mean done well you have.
Yeah, done right. Teamwork. Let's see. Easy to change. Done well you have.
Much better.
Yeah, perfect.
Better
Okay.
much.
Better much, yeah. Okay, and then we just switch it to green here. So can kind of click between these and manage your answers hopefully pretty easily. I'm going to add an ending scene here just to kind of show how that's going to work. So I just clicked on this add a new scene tool down here and clicked on the ending scene, and it went ahead and gave me one, and it put a text panel in there for me just to kind of say farewell to everyone. So I'm going to bring the ending scene text over. Let's see if we got a nice little color for this guy, I think. The webinar screen kind of takes up a lot of real estate here, sorry. Yeah, all right, green, and I think we want to use the Vader picture. Load that up. Okay, great. So we've created a pretty quick little 2 scenes here. Kind of touches on a good variety of what the features are. So we'll be able to create a lot more scenes here. Like I said, we wanted to make it a lot easier to manage, so you can delete scenes now. You can delete each slide individually if you want one to add one or to get rid of one. Really easy drag-drop reordering here for the slides. Yeah, hopefully it's easy for you guys to use too. I think that was kind of all I wanted to go over.
Cool. Can you jump to scene 1 real quick? I just wanted to point out, if you go to the question,
Yep.
all of the answers options at the bottom. So one thing that we've done is we're going to randomize those so that they're not going to show in the order that you put them. We may actually put a little toggle in there to let you say, yeah, I want to keep them in this order, or I want to randomize it. So that was one of the requests that we got. Was a lot of people didn't want their correct answers always being the first one, and that was the one that they always wrote first. Sure. So that's one of the things that will also make it into the release. And then, do any of those hover flyouts work or for the info?
No.
No. Okay. So we haven't gotten to those yet. So, but yeah, a few more features that we have to wrap up before the February release. But I think it gives you a great idea of where we're at and where we're headed with this stuff. If you guys have questions, raise your hand. Put a question in the chat box. We're happy to answer those. Do we have any questions queued up? Or?
When you're creating questions, we've been answering quite a few questions so far, but the current one is when you're creating a question, how can you tell what it will look like on the phone?
Yeah. I mean, I can take a step up.
Sure.
So when you're creating a question in Pathfinder, and let's just bring that up real quick. This is an example of a question. So it's going to look the same on the phone as it does in the web player. Thanks to the software we use to render this stuff, it provides a shared experience that's the same between all of the devices. So just like what Jeff showed in the example earlier, which I kind of pull up here as the web player, it's going to look the same as it would here on the phone in landscape view, of course. So just kind of zipping through these slides here, and it's going to look just like this. You're going to see your question statement, and if I hop back to the editor, gives you a good sense of what that's going to look like. And then it's going to present you to the questions, but the feedback screens are going to look pretty similar to how they look in the editor here, and I'll just pick the incorrect answer, and you guys can see that. Yeah. So yeah, it should look the same on the phone as it does in the browser. I mean,
yeah, we do a lot of smart cropping behind the scenes and sort of positioning. So if you have a different screen ratio, you know, it'll still work. So you might want to just test some of those images out if images are important to you and you don't want to crop a certain amount of things off. Just make sure to test those. But everything else should work pretty perfectly.
Yeah. So we do have another question. Can you drag and drop scenes to reorder them?
So currently we don't. We're not doing that only because we're working towards another model of having the scenes be more of a flow map. So that's sort of our next step. As we finish this up, our next phase will be moving this into a flow map view, which really won't allow us to do that anyway. So the scene ordering won't really make a lot of sense. If we get a lot of requests for it, we could certainly add it. Probably wouldn't take much for us to add it into this view, or maybe we'll have two different views, one for linear and one for branching. So we'll definitely look into that and take that into consideration. But right now, you can only reorder the slides within a scene. You can, but I just wanted to point out, you can link to any scene. So the sequential order of the scenes don't really matter much unless you're creating linear and you just want it to work in the auto mode. So.
Yeah, I brought up that here. I didn't really cover it too much, but you can see at question there's an option here that links to, and if the user selects this question, they'll be brought to you know, whichever scene that they choose to drop down here. One of the other things I wanted to point out that we added support for this is drag and drop. So if you're using a modern browser that supports the drag and drop stuff, you can see, hopefully you can see I have the little folder window open here. I can just grab my images, and if I drop them in that little area, I can quickly update them. Just a nice little enhancement over some of the other tools. Cool. Any other questions?
Yeah, a couple more. Do your text input boxes automatically limit the amount of text you can put in to ensure you can see all the text on one screen?
So currently we use, it's basically an auto fit. I'm not sure if we have any character limits on that. It's more of a what you see is what you get, and as you get smaller and smaller, you can easily create a new text or title slide and break those up into separate slides. So the point of the editor is to kind of give you that real-time visual of, hey, this might be too much text. Then you can sort of break that up into different slides.
Yeah. Yeah, and to comment, like, kind of to the point I was making earlier, is it's not going to be a pixel-perfect representation in the editor. It's just really challenging to make a web browser render like our client. And that's not really something that's going to work great, but it'll give you a really good sense of what the text is going to fit like. But again, it's not going to be 100% exact all the time.
What else we got?
Is there a way to undo or go backwards? So like undo a change you recently made?
Well, with the autosave feature, we're probably losing that ability, right? So what we've thought is that it's such a simple tool. If you're making a few changes here and there, you're probably going to recognize it right away. If somebody feels strongly about the need for an undo, we can probably look into, seeing what we can do about that. But in our cases, as we've used it, I've not found the need to do that.
Yeah. To kind of piggyback on Jeff's point, one of the nice things about this editor with the scene and the slide breakdown, if you will, is that you're working with really small chunks. So I guess there could be certain scenarios, but hopefully you'll kind of be able to keep your changes isolated to a slide or to a scene, and if you have to, just kind of redo that small modular piece.
And just to add to that, I think Kelly will go over some best practices and tips.
Totally.
And typically what we do is we'll write a script beforehand, so you'll have most of your content there, and then if you need to go back and change it, it's usually minor edits.
Shall we pull up a poll?
Yeah, let's do it. Drum roll, please. The poll question is, what type of learning path do you anticipate using with this activity? So basically trying to understand, are you just looking for more of a sequential, linear type of learning path, or will you be exploring branching out and doing more of a true scenario, choose your own adventure type of thing? Or would you consider both? This will just help us align the priority for some of the things that we're working on.
Go ahead and close that.
Great. So it looks like a lot of people are interested in branching and doing both. That's great news. Want to do another one? So this will kind of be a nice segue into Kelly's piece here. What type of tool do you prefer for creating branching scenario scripts? So not necessarily for our Pathfinder activity, but just if you've done branching scenario scripts in the past, what's the most important tool for you? Is it something like a spreadsheet with tabs for each scene, which we've kind of mimicked in the past? Is it using some sort of presentation slides? Is it a text document? Or is it more like a flow map tool like Visio or something like that nature? And obviously, if you've never written one, you can select the not sure. All right, so it seems like a lot of people not sure, but the flow map tool seems like it would be useful, which is good because it sort of aligns with our next phase for the Pathfinder activity. Great, so let's go ahead and hand it over to Kelly, and I've got, actually, if you want to hand it to me and give Kelly audio, I can show her slides. We can do that. I'll show my screen. All right, so we're going to talk about tips and best practices. Kelly, are you on the line?
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Sure can.
Awesome. Well, thanks, guys, and good morning, everybody. I'm Kelly Martin, an account manager with MLevel. If you haven't had a chance to work with me, I've spent a lot of time working with clients and developing MLevel content and their kind of beginning MLevel missions. So I've assisted a few clients in building both Pathfinder content and the activity itself, and have come up with some tips to share with you all. So first, I'm going to start with some tips on developing Pathfinder content. When working with customers and building some demo activities myself, I found there are a few steps you can take to ensure a quality player experience, which is focused on your overall goal. So first, I found it's very helpful to clearly define your learning objectives. So another way to think about this is, what should your players be able to know or do at the end of this activity that they couldn't do before? This learning objective should be focused and support the goal of your mission. So commonly, I've seen Pathfinder be the wrap-up activity. It's kind of test what you've learned in this real-world context. But again, MLevel gives you the flexibility that you can use whatever combination of activities you think would be appropriate for your player experience. So the next one, create your best path first. So you can use the software of your choice or even a piece of notebook paper to sketch out that best path. That would be if they select the correct answer for each question. So in that photo below, it's that green colored path. So this step, you'll define each question that will be asked and the correct answer. And again, we do have a template that you can use in Excel if it helps you stay organized, but since you won't be uploading content, feel free to use whatever software you're most comfortable in. So once you've got your best path defined, next go back and review each decision point or question and determine what other options are possible or other answers. So this is where you develop the answers that don't lead down the best path. And just a reminder, you can have minimum 2 answers, maximum 4 answers, and varying levels of correctness. So 100% correct, partially correct, or incorrect. So you've got some options in defining kind of the other answers, the other options with each of those decision points. And these answers, they don't have to result in a player going down the same path. They can start to go down a separate path or a different branch. As you add wrong answers, another path may identify itself. So see where that goes, and remember, an answer choice can take a player anywhere, even back to the best path, so they can sort of redeem themselves. In that photo to the right, you can see even after that first question, they've started down their own branch to the far right. They can redeem themselves and get back on that best path. But I do find it helpful to kind of lay out an overall picture, and then some opportunities where you can drive that navigation will start to appear. So after you've reviewed each decision point, I like to go back and add feedback. Now that you've got your flow down at the panel or question level, you can add feedback to your answer choices. So here's where you've got the ability to explain to the player why their answer was incorrect, partially correct, or correct. It's helpful to be specific and focused, and now that you do have all your answer options outlined, it's really easy to write feedback that explains clearly why certain answers for that question are correct or incorrect. You can kind of use the verbiage from your other answer options to give more focused feedback. Next up is adding in additional slides. So don't forget you have the option to add in a title slide, image, text, navigation, or a video slide. If you feel a certain question needs a bit more background before the question itself is presented, it's easy to add a description slide to add a little bit more context. Commonly, everybody has started with a title slide and then a description slide before they go into question number 1. But it's flexible. It's up to you how you want to categorize your content. You can intro with a little bit more in certain cases. Sometimes they can go straight into the question. And then, of course, in all things MLevel, kind of less text is more. So make sure your verbiage is focused. The text in Pathfinder, like Jeff shared earlier, it will resize, but we don't want to lose the player's interest or take away from the fun game feel of this activity. By adding lots of text, they'll start to feel like this is just an activity testing their reading skills. So if you find your scenario text is quite lengthy, one possibility to keep in mind is that you could create 2 Pathfinder activities that can kind of split your content in half. You don't want this activity to end up taking 10, 15 minutes for them to dive through. Okay. Jeff, do you mind going to the next slide for me? Thank you. Once you have your content added into MLevel, so your text, or your scenes, your panels, I suggest running through the player experience a few times, and also not just on the web player. If you believe your players will predominantly be playing on smartphones, make sure to test it out on there as well. Of course, things to look out for is the text is too lengthy or the experience in general is just a little bit too long. So once you're happy with your content, I like to go back in and add those customization elements, so all those options you have for imagery or colors. I find it's much easier to add in after your content's finalized and it's flowing the way you'd like. Of course, it's a lot easier to make edits when you only need to move text versus the text and the images. If you don't have a good imagery resource, I would start with defining a photo for each of these elements. You can always come back and add a bit more customization, but adding imagery, at least the basics, will give your Pathfinder activity a polished look. So the background image, what is the background? Of course, this is at a panel level, but another way to think about this is where is your scenario taking place? Of course, it can be whatever you think is appropriate, but I do recommend if you don't have a ton of imagery at your fingertips, maybe just trying to hunt down an image for each of these will give you a good starting point. So that foreground image, commonly I've seen people put a headshot of the character or the person in this scenario. It helps give the activity a point of view, but it can be whatever you'd like. So I've had clients who don't have a lot of imagery available. They've used kind of a stylized question mark in their company's colors into that circle per question. And then lastly, answer imagery. Again, I'd come up with defaults and then customize where you see fit. Once you've got your text in there, you've added some of the basic imagery, I would test again, and if possible, have some colleagues test as well. It's always helpful to have a second set of eyes and another point of view take a look at your activity. And I did want to mention we've got some great articles on our support site that break down the details of this activity, and also there is a worksheet that can help you get started collecting content or getting your content organized. I'll see if we can share those with you guys on the meeting notes. So those are some tips I hope you all find helpful. I look forward to seeing the Pathfinder activities you guys create. Is there any questions that I can help answer?
Any questions queued up? Or?
Do ping files render better than JPEGs?
Typically, we find pings they do pretty well, right?
It really depends. I think the kind of the go-to piece of for me for that is if you have a really busy picture with like people's faces or a crowd of people, a PNG or a ping is going to look a little better for the compression than a JPEG. But if you have big like outdoor scenery and stuff, a JPEG is going to look better. But we mostly use pings for everything just because it's a smaller file size and it looks fine. It's newer.
Yeah, I should point out too, most of the imagery that we use, we try to keep our biggest images to, what is it, 1024 by 640 or something like that, or 768,
right around there.
Something like that. So, you know, if you upload something into the system, it automatically generates the correct sizes for you. But there are some cases, I think we've had one client try to upload a 50 megabyte image where it'll time out. So, you know, just try to, you know, you can upload larger images, like probably 5 meg or 2 meg images are pretty good, and then we'll render those on our side to make those look pretty nice for the presentation piece of it.
Yeah, we kind of do our best to try and get the smallest file size so it's fast over the wire, but yet not lose any of the quality. So that's kind of the PNGs are pretty much the best for that.
One more question regarding formatting the title slide. In your title slide example, title and slide are on 2 different lines. Can you push title to be on the same line?
So they want to make it 2 lines in the same.
I think the question is, can you move title up or?
Like how that shows it. Oh, it just naturally breaks on title slide.
Yeah, I think if you put a space in there, I think what they're asking for is a hard return, right?
I mean, you can put a hard return in there if you want, like this.
Okay.
And it'll, if you add a, sorry you guys can't see my screen or whatever, but if you add a hard return before the quote title, it'll break it to the next line. And since that stuff centers naturally, it'll be centered and it looks fine. It looks good. So. Yeah, that's kind of one of the nice things about having this richer UI is you can kind of tweak that a little bit, and it's going to give you a sense of how it's going to flow. Like I said, it's not going to be perfect all the time, but in this case, it's the same.
Great. Any other questions?
We do. We have a couple more queued up. When deleting a slide, is there an "Are you sure" prompt? So does it prompt you?
Yep, there sure is.
Cool.
Both slides and scenes.
Yeah, so we'll give you a warning. If you're going to delete something, we always try to give you a little warning prompt so that you're not doing things on accident.
Yeah. Can you add audio files into questions?
Currently, we don't have the ability to add audio files into the questions. You can play a video through the video slide, but it's definitely on our radar. We're looking into how to incorporate audio in phase 3 probably of Pathfinder once we get people using it and seeing how they would want to use that audio. So please reach out to us and let us know how you'd like to use that.
Okay, do you want to jump to a couple polls now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and run another poll. And while Jake's got the poll up there, I just pulled up a couple tips for creating a script just from one of my old presentations as sort of a background if you were reading it. Great. So we're still waiting for the poll to come up?
No, it came up.
Oh, it came up. Yeah.
I think it's on the other side here.
Interesting. Oh, it's probably because I'm in full screen. There it is. All right, so how many decision points? So basically this is asking how many branches would you anticipate needing in a scenario for your training? Are we looking at a very small 2 to 10 sort of nodes of decision points, or are we talking more than 50? Most of the average things that we've found have been a little bit smaller, but just kind of curious to get an audience poll on this one. Great. So it seems about right. Yeah, probably about what we were expecting. Nobody planning to do more than 50, so that's good. We should note that it's basically unlimited right now, so you can do as many as you want. We probably don't recommend you do more than 50. Want to go ahead and do one more while we're...
Sure. This one is on tagging.
Great. So this is a good segue into the reporting and analytics that I'll talk about next. Right now, we currently don't have a way for you to sort of tie into the knowledge base that we have with the content. So the question is, would you be willing to manually tag learning concepts to your decision points or your questions in order to get more detailed reporting about those sort of learning objectives or knowledge items? So some of the answer options are, yeah, that sounds great. I'm willing to put a little bit more work in. Maybe I'll have to see how easy the tagging is, or you don't really care about that. Basic reporting on answer accuracy is good enough for you. We're missing it. We're missing an H on there, so apologize for that.
I think it's a character limitation.
Character limitation. All right. Great. So it sounds like everybody's interested in it, at least seeing in how easy it is to do or how hard it is to do. I don't anticipate it being very hard. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to jump out of PowerPoint. That's not what I want to do. Was having issues. There we go. Having issues connecting to the UAT environment. So I'm just going to go ahead and show an example of our current reporting. So this one just has some Greek data in there. But it gives you an idea. This is basically this is the current reporting that we have for Pathfinder. So it will give you basic scene data, and it'll show you how many answers have been in there. It'll show you basically the breakdown of best answer versus the wrong answers. So this is very basic stuff. In the future, we're going to try to get a little bit more into individual drill downs. And then also, I mentioned the tagging, so it seems like people are interested in that. So right now we're working on tagging for manual questions, which will basically be applied the same way for Pathfinder, I imagine. So we'll treat those as one and the same. So once we get that up and running, we'll definitely test some things out with all of our users. So any questions on reporting in general or comments, feel free to raise your hand if you want to talk about it, or send a little chat note. That's about all we have for reporting. If we don't have any questions, I think there's one more poll we can run.
I do have a question. Can you add the capability at the end of the scenario to tailor your message based on stars earned? Now you can do a poor job and the default message says something like you did pretty well or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll take a look at that for sure. We'll capture that data. Is that the only question we had?
Yes, at the moment. And we'll get to another poll.
So we're going to run our last poll here. And feel free to, again, raise your hand or ask questions as we're wrapping up here. So the poll is, how would you handle getting image assets? For building Pathfinder, as Kelly mentioned, imagery is pretty important. So we're just curious if you guys are doing your own research and buying your images online, if you have some sort of creative department or an agency or a designer that could supply you with your images, or if you'd be interested in some sort of service offering or partnership with another sort of image library firm or something within MLevel to pay a little extra for that. Let us know what you think. Give that a couple more seconds to close out. Great. So a lot of distribution across the board here. So some interest in a little bit of everything. That's good news. Appreciate everybody's feedback on that. Are there any more questions in the queue? Or
we have one asking if we will be supplying some generic images, like stylized question marks, etc.
We currently don't, but I'm sure if you work with your account rep or your account lead, we can supply you with some pretty basic things fairly easily.
We do have a question about randomizing answers.
Sure.
Randomized answers, is it automatically generated or manually set up? Not sure I'm following that question.
Sure. So I'll just talk a little bit about the randomizing of the answers. So currently in the beta version, however you type the order of your answers in is the order that it appears within the app. So the idea behind the randomizing is you can type your question or your answer options in any order that you want, and it will be randomized. So the basic idea is so that people, when they come in and replay, they don't always know that C is the right answer for that particular question. It's a little bit more, just randomizing it, engaging, making sure people understand the actual question and answer versus just the position of which scene, which slide, and which answer option it is. As I mentioned, we're also going to look into maybe creating a toggle switch that will let you dictate whether you want your answers to be set in a particular order or if you want them randomized. So hopefully that answers that question.
Cool. That's it in the questions for now.
Great. Again, if you have other questions, feel free to reach out to us or your account reps. We're happy to answer any questions or work with you if you want an individual demo, things like that. We can walk you through some things. And just a heads up, our next feature webinar will be around internationalization and localization. So that will be Wednesday, February 11th, same time, same place. Any other input from you guys? Are we good?
I think we're good.
Thanks, everyone.
Great. Yeah, thanks for your attendance and your participation. We look forward to seeing you guys next week or next month. Sorry.